Hello there, Adam Gower here, and welcome to the GowerCrowd Podcast, the real estate crowdfunding show Deal Time, where you can learn about active crowdfunded real estate deals directly from the sponsors themselves. Subscribe to my free weekly newsletter at GowerCrowd.com, where you'll get links to the podcast, as well as news and updates exclusively from the world of real estate crowdfunding. Sign up at GowerCrowd.com so you don't miss out. Also, if you want to pitch your deal on the show, just go to the podcast page at GowerCrowd.com and look for links on how to submit your deal. Please note that while I don't endorse the deal, sell securities, or make investment recommendations of any kind, some sponsors are GowerCrowd clients. Now listen in and learn about the next great deal on the GowerCrowd Deal Time podcast. Here we go. Diego, I'm so happy to see you again. I cannot wait to talk about Mohawk at Wynwood. Oh my goodness, when that flew across my screen this morning, I just knew we had to talk. So why don't you start off and tell me your name, company name, and position. Just a brief self-introduction. Who are you as it relates to Mohawk at Wynwood?
Great to be here with you, Adam. Thank you so much, first of all. So my name is Diego Ojeda. I'm president of Miami-based real estate development company Rilea Group, and I am the developer of a project we're going to be talking about today called Mohawk at Wynwood.
And the way that you have put this pitch deck together is perfect. You start with the most amazing photographs. So for those who can't see it right now but are listening to you, talk about it. Tell me about this deal. Just get me excited to start.
Right,
What's this deal about?
So Wynwood is the artistic neighborhood of Miami that has, captivated the hearts and minds of the artistic community of the country. It is, voted by Vogue magazine as, one of the coolest neighborhoods in the world. And so many artists have just flocked there for a great graffiti scene, art scene, it's gallery scene. It's just fantastic. So when I was looking to design, thinking of the design of the project, I was, inspired by the classic brick buildings from the Northeast, the industrial based buildings. And I wanted to bring something like that to Miami. And I teamed up with an architect to form a studio here in Miami. And together we came up with this, all brick building concept. So yeah, it's very, very exciting. Rooftop pool, rooftop amenities. I think it's going to be spectacular.
Next gen residential. What's next gen residential? That's so intriguing.
Next gen residential community, inspired by the strength and sophisticated architecture, boldness of the creative culture that, that chooses to live on the edge, which is Wynwood. It's a stylish, bold, it's unapologetic. It's Mohawk, whatever Mohawk, when you hear that word and you think of that, and what comes to your mind, punk rock of the 80s or attitude, that's what we're looking to do here in this project. All that mixed with a cool factor. And that's what Miami is, and what Mohawk at Wynwood will be. It's going to be Miami's most forward-thinking, artistic, expressive project.
So if you're listening, you have to look at the pitch deck. It is super duper cool. But on the podcast, let's just dive into some of the slightly more boring numbers, if you don't mind. Tell me how many square feet. You've got mixed use in there. So what are the three uses you've got? How many square feet? How many units? Kind of give me some basic stats. Let's get into details.
Yeah. So this is a 12-story, 225 unit multifamily project with 212,000 square feet of leasable space, 22,000 square feet of retail, ground floor level, and in a, great area to have retail. Trader Joe's has just announced that they're going to open in front of us 1 block away. And then we're also going to have 3,500 square feet of office space, but not traditional office space. These are offices geared to the people that want to work from home. and they want their 6 foot by 6 foot office with a door and a lock, and in there they have their private desk and they can work from home. Now, especially after COVID, we've seen that there's many people that want to work from home, maybe not inside their apartment, but within their building. So these offices will be strictly for our residents.
That's interesting. I didn't actually get that. Just explain that again. So this is work at home, but they will have a separate unit, and then explain that actually, the kind of the physical layout, what that looks
right.
like.
So there's 3,500 square feet of offices, and the way we're breaking them up. So imagine 6 foot by 6 foot cubicles, okay, but each of them has a door and a lock, and inside that cubicle you have your desk, and you have your printer, and you set up the whatever way you like it, and it's yours, and you pay a certain amount a month, call it $200-300, and it's your private space. So if you are someone that works from home, you don't necessarily have to be inside your home. You could be within your building, in a place with windows, and it's beautiful the way we're setting it up. But yeah.
All right. So tell me a bit more about Wynwood, and if you can, I know that you've been further afield than just Miami. I know that. So tell me if there are some areas that you could compare Wynwood to let those who don't know where it is.
No, yeah. So Wynwood is Miami's Soho, just the way New York has Soho and the meatpacking district, and these are neighborhoods that started off being, largely abandoned neighborhoods that the artist community went into and really helped it flourish. And then, the development company, the development community went in there and started building really cool projects, always keeping the aura and the feel of the neighborhood. That's the same way what happened in Wynwood. The Goldman family were the family that really launched Soho in New York many decades ago. Well, they're the same family that came to Miami and replicated that formula and started, bringing artists and doing events and really, pinpointing exactly the way this was going to flourish. And it's worked really, really well. And today Wynwood has a Wynwood design review board, which, makes recommendations for projects to stay in the same feeling, so that everything is geared towards the artists and towards beautiful murals, and you don't want the wrong stores in there and the wrong brands in there. So it's what's helped keep this neighborhood intact and keep having the real soul of Wynwood.
Diego, tell me the story of the deal. I get back to when you found the land or whatever it was. Just kind of tell me the story of the deal and why you liked it in the beginning.
Yeah, so this site is owned by a local family, a great Miami family, and it's a 1.5 acre size site. What I love about it is the location. Wynwood, we're right on 29th Street, and the reason that street is important is because it divides Wynwood from another neighborhood called Midtown, and we are on the border of both. What I love about it is that you can walk into the hustle and bustle, the heart of Wynwood, and be at the Wynwood walls in a few minutes, or take a scooter or whatever. It's a nice stroll into there. Or you could walk into Midtown, which is a much more established neighborhood, whereas in Wynwood you have maybe 2 buildings. In Midtown you have over a dozen, and you have shops in both, but you have a shopping center in Midtown. So Trader Joe's is going to open up in Midtown, just 1 block away from us, and 1 block behind us in Wynwood, there's about a 90% approved train station that's coming. So if you Google train station Wynwood, you'll find all the information necessary. So, what I love most about this is the exact location of where this is going to be, and that was the canvas to allow us to bring Mohawk to reality.
Beautiful. Now the plan is. This is a ground-up development. Those aren't easy. Oh my goodness, that's an annoying intrusion. Sorry about that. Those are not easy. So what stage of production or of construction or development are you at the moment? Just explain kind of the timeline where you are at the moment.
So we're buying entitled land. This is a zoning called Miami 21 and the Wynwood NRD. So we're buying as of right land. And once we buy the land, then we'll start going through plans and permitting. The plans is our architectural plans. We'll do those, and you go through a permitting process as you're doing the plans, with the city, getting comments back and forth. And then once we have our building permit is when we'll start construction. Construction on a project of this size could be around 24 months. Plans and permitting could be about 14 months, give or take. So it's 14 months, 2 years of construction. And then once we're open, a project with 225 units like this one, I think we can lease about 20 units a month. That's like a normal, healthy pace here in South Florida. So within a year, we should be, fully stabilized. So this project start to finish, 4.5 years until you have a full operating project.
And stabilized?
Stabilized, fully occupied, completed project.
Okay, so tell me now what's in it for investors. The minimum investment, what are the returns, what are the splits, projected, everything. Give me the numbers. How am I going to make money?
Yeah, so we've teamed up with a crowdfunding company called Realty Mogul. They have a fantastic operation, super user-friendly, and with great track record. They've already raised hundreds of millions of dollars for projects. And they have a fantastic team that this is our first time doing this. So we wanted to make sure that, given our track record and our history, that we were partnering up with the right people. And honestly, the folks at that company have just been superb. So the minimum investment in our project via Realty Mogul is $35,000. Okay. The returns, if we were to sell this, we're assuming this project is going to be a five and change year project. All right. If we were to sell this project after 5 years, the return IRR is 20%, 20.5 around there. The project return on cost is about 6.7%. And then the cash on cash stabilized is approximately 9.5%.
Let me clarify that. So you're building to a cash on cash of 9.5%. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. So once stabilized, the invested capital will be earning 9.5%, but it will have accrued a pref for the 5 years. What's the pref? Did you tell me that already? No.
No, I haven't said it. So the pref is an 8% preferred return, which is accrued annually. Mm-hmm. And once we have returned, first we return the capital to our partners, then we give the 8% annual. And once we've given that 8%, then it splits 75-25, 75 to the investors, 25% to the development company. And then we keep returning capital. And then once if we hit a 15%, anything after that, and that 15% is annual. So once the investors have received 15% on their money every single year during the life of that project, then it splits 65-35 above that.
Very nice.
There's no third hurdle. We stop it there.
Yes. Well, that was a good thing to do. Yeah. Third hurdle. Can you imagine how complicated that gets?
Yeah.
All right. Let's hope we would make it all the way to a third hurdle. All right. So I noticed in the pitch deck that you have existing NOI. I'm reading this from my notes. Existing NOI for certain carrying costs. So, but that is not going to bleed into investor returns, presumably, even during the during your entitlement phase.
No, yes. So what I'm saying, no. So right now we're buying land that has some retail on it. So it's a covered land play, as they say, which is good because during the plans and permit part, where sometimes you have an empty piece of land which is not generating any cash flow, here we're going to have all the tenants, month to month, they can stay on the project right up until we start construction. So all that income will be coming into the company. And, I'm not saying it's a lot, but it's some income that will help pay some bills that the company will have, carrying costs, real estate taxes, things like that.
And so what it now your objective to this project is to build it, stabilize it, in other words, rent it out across the board, and then ideally you would like to do what with it? Would you like to hold it or sell it? Just tell me that, because you do talk about that in your deal memo.
Yeah. So the idea here is to do, a 5 to 7 year life of the project. At around the year 5 is when we'll start opening the idea to selling the project. At that time, this project will be fully leased. We think we'll have a phenomenal project in the heart of Wynwood Midtown. And we think, because of all the different attributes that the project has, which we can go into now, that we will have achieved really good rents. And that's the objective. And then I think at that point will be a good time to really assess, look, and say, speak within the investor group and say, right now might be a good time to sell, and let's sell the project. So that's the way we're pitching it to our investors. We're not going in saying this is a forever hold. This is the idea, to do a 5-year, always assuming that we're in the right market to sell. We would never want to sell this at the wrong time, just because we have to sell. So that's important to say. But as soon as that window opens, I think it'll be the right time.
Now, you mentioned deal attributes. So you actually injected another question into those that I was going to ask. You said, we'll talk about deal attributes. So tell me some more of the deal attributes that you really want prospective investors to know about. Yeah.
So amenities of the project, things like that?
Yeah.
So this project, aside of the facade, aesthetically, beautiful things the project has going for it, we're going to have, rooftop pool, rooftop amenities, 2-story gym. One important thing that none of the projects in the neighborhood have, which we always like to cater to, is families. We're going to have 2 kids, 2 rooms, an outdoor and an indoor. The plan is to have 2 of them kids rooms, for those new parents that are working professionals, or millennials that just had a kid. Especially during COVID, they can get cabin fever being in the apartment all day long. So the fact of having a nice space for them to run around and just blow off steam is great for them, great for the parents. And if you look at the comparables in the neighborhood, none of them really have a kids room. And we always like to do that. If you go on our website at rileagroup.com and you look at our projects, for example, The Bond and One Broadway, you'll see the type of kids rooms that we did. And those are huge. So we're also going to have a beautiful lounge, maybe with a fireplace, with beautiful, views, and we're going to have a game room, which will have billiards, ping pong, but always done with a very cool aesthetic feel to it, always with the Mohawk attitude throughout. We're going to have, in our last project, The Bond, we did a partnership with a very famous, unfortunately now deceased, photographer called Terry O'Neill. Terry O'Neill was a phenomenal British photographer who became famous in the swinging 60s, because he would photograph James Bond, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, royalty, just everyone. He was married to Faye Dunaway. So, I'm sure you know all about him. So we bought 30 collector item photographs signed by Terry O'Neill that today hang in all the public areas of that project. So you walk into the lobby and you have Elton John, you have Mick Jagger, you have Twiggy. That project was all British themed. This project is going to be Mohawk themed. And by Mohawk, I mean attitude. There's a gallery in New York that we're looking at approaching, and that we would love to buy some works from. And we want to hang those works throughout the lobby. It's called the Morrison Hotel Gallery, and they have beautiful photographs of the Beatles, but with Muhammad Ali or Bob Dylan or Tupac or the Beastie Boys, Led Zeppelin. So imagine having these big black and white photographs throughout your lobby and throughout the amenity rooms. This is a great place, a cool place to live.
Yeah, it's I got that vibe from the pitch deck, and hearing you talk about it, it just sounds phenomenal. All right, let's let's move towards wrapping up this pitch for the Mohawk. Let me ask you this. Pragmatically speaking, it's a 5-year project, ground up development, innovative idea. What are the biggest risks to this project, and how are you planning to mitigate those risks?
So in real estate, the biggest risk is always how much debt you put. Everyone that goes broke in real estate is because they over-levered. They got too much debt. Our company is a conservative company in the sense that we don't like to take on too much debt. We always plan for the worst, shoot for the best, plan for the worst, and that's the way we develop. So we will never take a construction loan that will be too big to handle. In case, rent, in case we find ourselves in COVID number 2 and we need to lower rents or occupancy goes down for, huge reasons that are out of our control. We need to always be able to cover all of our costs and pay all of our bills. So that is one thing that's very important to us. And just very important, for example, the construction. When we do the construction, we always do 2 very important things. One is with our general contractor. We always select a general contractor who's been working for many, many decades and that has a huge track record. Then we'll sign the construction contract with them is one called a GMP, which is a guaranteed maximum price, which is a locked price, which basically says for our plans with all the specs, all the finishes, everything that you see in the renderings, we agree with that general contractor that we have a maximum price that cannot go over that, and they have to deliver that project. If later on there's items like tariffs or one of their subcontractors went belly up for whatever reason, that's on them, and we know that we are with a reputable general contractor. Second of all, we get what is called a payment and performance bond, which is a double-sided insurance, which basically says every month we pay our general contractor. How do we know that they're turning around and paying all of their subcontractors? Well, you have an insurance that does that, just in case they are not. You have someone that covers that. And then worst case scenario, imagine your general contractor goes belly up for whatever reason. They took on too much work or whatever. You have an insurance policy that comes in and steps in and says, they'll bring in similar size, similar company, general contractor to finish your exact project. So that insurance and that type of contract is something that we always do. Many of the banks that give you the construction loan, many require it, and that's very smart that they do that. But we will always have that. So with us, it's a pragmatic, conservative, careful company.
Diego, last question. So for an investor listening to this, they remember nothing of what we've been talking about, except the last sentences that you're about to tell me. What would it be that you would want them to take away from this conversation about Mohawk at Wynwood, about you, about Rilea Group? What would it be that you would want them to remember the most?
Our partner, Realty Mogul, is a fantastic crowdfunding company. And I would urge people to go onto Realty Mogul, find our project, Mohawk at Wynwood, look through the information, look through the numbers, look at a very cool video we have on there. And if after looking at everything, looking at the numbers here, after you do your own assessment, you think that this project is right for you, we would love to have you as partners. And you will be partnering up with a company who has a 40-year track record developing iconic projects in South Florida. Just check us out at www.rileagroup.com. Rilea is RILEA group.com. Thank you very much.
Diego Ojeda, you're a superstar. Rilea Group. Thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, Adam. My pleasure.
If you want more information on this deal and on all the others in this new series, plus if you want access to the latest news from the real estate crowdfunding industry, and if you want to be the first to know about some amazing proprietary industry data that we're putting together for you, subscribe now to the GowerCrowd newsletter at GowerCrowd.com. It's totally free and it is the most comprehensive source of news and information about real estate crowdfunding anywhere on the planet, all there at GowerCrowd.com. Thank you for joining me and for listening in to today's deal. This is Adam Gower wishing you well and signing off.